Hello traders, today is Monday 13, 2025. I'm gonna start the video with Apple. Please keep in mind, this is not financial advice. This content is for educational purposes only. I strongly suggest you do your due diligence before you risk your money in any type of investments. It was an interesting day today. It was, for the most part, pretty red across the board. Some names showed a little bit of strength, and some sectors also are showing strength, which is quite interesting as well, but nothing new. Now, Apple, for example, had this move that I predicted, I believe, on last week on the 7th. And one of the things that I said is that if the momentum continues to the downside, keeping in mind how the MACD and the TSI were looking and still looking, that we were going to go down towards 230, and maybe at that point we could actually start positioning ourselves or buying more into our positions, because I was considering this area an area of opportunity. I still believe the same, even if we go down towards 230 again, and now I think that 225 could also be in the picture. I think those are going to be very good opportunities. Now, something interesting happened today after hours, and that is that momentum came back in. Now, my assumption for this move across the board, as far as the stocks starting to move to the upside after hours, and some of these names actually got a lot of momentum, considering the lack of volume that we always experience after hours. Some of these names were actually moving very decently. I think it's because there was an announcement that Trump's tariffs are going to be deployed in a very measured manner. In other words, they are not going to be as aggressive initially as the market was thinking. They are probably going to be implemented, but they're going to be implementing in a very slow fashion, which is something that the market is apparently welcoming, if that is exactly the case of why everything started to move to the upside after hours. Across the board, we could see green after hours. Now, going back to the daily chart on Apple, I do think that if this trend continues, then the MACD and the TSI by tomorrow are going to start curling, and the histogram is going to look much different. In other words, it's not going to be bright red, it's going to be like light red, and maybe start as we go into the inauguration, Trump's inauguration, we're probably going to find ourselves on a little bit of a move to the upside. How long is that going to last? I'm not sure. But don't be surprised that by the end of the week, we might be crossing over 237 or maybe 240. That would be quite interesting. Now, that being said, we just have to continue taking it day by day and see how this is going to evolve. Well, that being said, let's move on to the next name, which actually throughout the day, let's talk about AMD. And actually AMD, let me take a note first, showed relative strength on a day that the sector was red. AVGO actually was, I think, green as well, yes. But AMD wasn't, it was showing a little bit of a resilience, all things considered, and you can see that on the chart. After hours, it kept going up. Let's go take a look at the 4-hour chart and see how much it was up, almost 1% after hours. Interesting. But this is a very nice move. I'm not going to lie. I welcome this move for sure. But I still think that AMD is still in the weeds. I think that there is still a good chance and we can go down towards 111.5. That is very possible. But for now, again, as I just said with Apple, we have to take it day by day and see how we react. Now, if we go towards resistance here at 120, we really have to break that with momentum in order to continue going towards 135. That's my thought process. The 35 SMA, if we break 120, might actually represent a very decent level of resistance, as you can see here in this area, and then you can see it again over here. So we'll see how we behave. We'll see how things move forward in the next few days. Keep in mind as well, we have PPI coming and CPI coming this week. So that type of data can ruin whatever we have seen after hours or we have seen during trading hours, as we saw with AMD. So be mindful of that information as well. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin and take a quick note. Looking interesting. In the morning, I was looking at this candle and I was like, well, that's a little bit sketchy. The reason why I'm saying this is because you broke this critical level of resistance at 92. And unlike these two candles right here, or these 2 weeks, you could also see that there was momentum to the downside. I was quite worried, to be honest. But then buyers stepped in, and then you close this candle up on this area. MACD and TSI are not looking as terrible as they did. I had my reservations on this area, and I didn't have much hopes on this area right here, to be honest. But as we are moving, I think that this is starting to look more neutral, which is good news for Bitcoin, to be honest. Now we have the challenge of going back towards 100 and break 100 with momentum. Now, if nothing crazy happens between now and the inauguration, my price target is still the same for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is going to hit 120 by March. Now, I could be wrong, I could be right, and it could be wrong both ways. It could be higher than 120, or it could be much lower than 120. But I do think that Bitcoin is going to catch momentum to the upside once Trump gets into the administration. And if he says anything positive about Bitcoin, buyers are going to step in. It's that simple. There's going to be this euphoria, for lack of a better term. And I think investors are going to jump into the opportunity of Bitcoin. So the closer we get to the inauguration and the closer we get into having Trump, taking office and having all that behind us, I think that Bitcoin is going to start moving up. That being said, I do think that the rest of these names, CLSK, Coin, Course, Iron, Mara, MSTR, Riot, Wolf, they are going to start rallying. They are lagging. There's a little bit of a disconnection between Bitcoin and its proxies. But I think that once they start catching up, they're going to move very nicely with it. But now, again, everything is dependent, in my opinion, on how or what type of events we have between now and the 20th or the 21st, whatever. I'm not sure what day it is. And I think the market is also thinking or a little bit hesitant. I am at least. But I've seen a lot of news and I guess people being scared and thinking that that something might happen during the inauguration. Even the FBI have actually said that they don't think anything bad is going to happen, but we just have to put that behind us. And then I think the market is going to give us another move to the upside. For how long, I don't know, but I think if that is the case, if everything goes well, the market is going to move very nicely to the upside. Now let's move on to the next name, and that is Clover. And one of the things that I was looking at, and I mentioned Clover on Saturday the 11th, so I was looking at this Friday candle, and what I said was that I like the fact that Clover very quietly compared to the rest of the market and compared to the rest of small caps and mid caps, Clover was being pretty sneaky and moving up, breaking resistance and moving up slowly to the upside. Now today in the morning, I think it was up at some point by 5% or something like that. So we hit over here on resistance at 391. It was a little bit over, maybe 4 or 393, whatever, a couple of cents here or there. And it got rejected. You don't want to see this type of candle, really. But then let's take a look at the 4-hour. You had this move, you had this red candle right here, and then after hours you were up pretty much 0.30%, nothing. Let's take a look at the 5-hour. you had this move pre-market. There were probably news or something, I'm not sure. And then once you hit resistance, you had 1, 2, 3, and then you started going down, which is fine. But we'll see. I think Clover still has a long way to go. It still has a lot to prove. Management especially has a lot to prove. But it seems like for a while, I think since May of last year, they have been turning things around. You were 60 cents in May of last year. You're up to 372. That's how we closed today. At one point, you were almost at $5. That's impressive. But we'll see how Clover behaves. I don't know how much, I guess, fuel it has left in the tank. But it would be nice if we if we stay in range between 350 and 390, 395. Stay in range right here and then have a next move to the upside. We'll see what earnings come. When is earnings? February? March? Wow. Earnings are not coming until March. Okay. March what? March 4th. Okay. Well, that's what I have for Clover. Looking interesting. Another name that I find, you know, I had Costco calls. They're completely flat. On Friday, they were doing pretty good. Today, with it dropped by 1% or something. They're completely flat. Total bummer. Okay, let's go with GEV. And this is looking good. If tomorrow the market doesn't go crazy because of data that we might get from, what is it, PPI tomorrow? I think we have PPI tomorrow. Yeah, PPI. So if the market doesn't go crazy, well, let's rephrase that. If a PPI comes hard, like very hard, the market I think is going to react to that. But if it comes in line or a little bit above, or even better, if it comes, underestimations, I do think that the market is going to move very nicely, considering what we have seen after hours. Now let's take a look at how this moved after hours. This was up 0.75%, 76%. That's all right. But I love the fact that we are sitting here. We're not breaking support. If there is momentum tomorrow, this thing is going to start rallying. It's going to start moving. That's. I don't have much to say about this. Now, if we break and we go into range, it's not going to be as interesting. But I think for now, we just have to wait on the behavior of the stock and what's the next candle going to bring to us. Seems like if there is momentum tomorrow, that we can actually start moving now to the upside. This could be a very nice move, all things considered. But tomorrow and Wednesday are critical data days for the market, and that could actually push this name to the downside. Now, keep in mind that the market has been very red in the past week and a half or so, and GEV has been capable of actually breaking resistance and maintaining itself on top of what is now support. So that is a very important thing to keep in mind. So we'll see how we behave, but I'm just waiting for this. And if it starts moving, I'm definitely going to jump into it. Another thing that I forgot to mention, I did, I bought my, how you call it, Fubo puts, and they're doing quite well. Fubo was down like 12% today, so I told you. Now let's do HIMS. And I should have added Fubo to the, to my list, but I forgot. And I'm already doing HIMS. So, okay, let's do HIMS. Another name that actually showed, let's go to the 5 minute and see how this was working. I was looking at the market in the beginning of the trading day, and somewhere around here, I was like, wow, this is really showing some, strength compared to the rest of, relative strength compared to the rest of the market. And then, you could see this M-shaped double top on the 5 minute, just went down. Once it broke the 325 SMA, boom, it went down. But then you had this nice bottom, and you just continue going up, which was nice. I think that all things considered, HIMS is behaving very nicely, to be honest. Now you can see this whole trend. Let's go to a weekly. Let's see if, I mean, you can argue that we are maybe flagging right here, yet it looks extended on the weekly. So keep that in mind. But in this case, on the daily chart, MACD and TSI are not looking too bad. It seems like this level at 23.5 is becoming quite strong. That is good news, because the stronger this gets, the harder it's going to be for this name to break under 23.5 and go towards 21, or maybe worse, going towards the 200 SMA. But for now, I think that this level, 23.5, is pretty decent. Now we close today at 25.9 over support, which 25.5 now is turning into resistance. We'll see how we behave tomorrow. After hours, we were slightly up. Now I want to see. Let's go to the 4-hour. You were up. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. 0.5%, not too much. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm quite intrigued. I want to see. Maybe we can say, if we go to the 4-hour, I just want to see if I have a case for a double, for a bottom right here, for a double bottom. Maybe if we are in the 4-hour. Anyways, this is not looking bad in my opinion. We just need a little bit of momentum. It's just that we are getting data tomorrow. I think PPI comes well, or in line, or whatever. I think CPI is not gonna be as bad. So tomorrow is critical as far as data. All right, let's move on. Anyways, keep your critical level as it has been for a while, or for a few days, since mid-December, already almost a month. It is 25.5 and 23.5. Those are your levels right now. Now let's move on to, let's go all the way down here to Meta. And look at this. So Meta was the only name on the Magnificent 7 that after hours was red. I'm not too sure why. My guess, this is a guess, is because there are news that China is considering selling TikTok to Elon Musk. So the ban of TikTok might actually turn into a company for sale. Now we don't know if Elon is going to buy it or not. I hope not. But it's now a company for sale, and so the competition for Meta might actually persist from the side of TikTok. We'll see. That is just rumors right now. But as far as technicals, I like the fact that we had this move. We went down. Let's go to the 5-minute. We came down all the way to this area right here. So you got choppy in the beginning of the day. You had a sell-off coming off pre-market. Then things got pretty choppy, and then buyers stepped in all the way towards closing. And then you got maybe those news about Elon and whatnot. Now let's go back to the daily. You're hitting the 35 SMA as you did on Friday. Now you do it again. You're still on top of this level of support, 6.3. We'll see what brings tomorrow. MACD and TSI are neutral. Now the TSI, if you zoom in, is pointing down. So we might actually move a little bit to the downside if news are not very favorable for Meta in the upcoming hours. But we'll see. I think I still like Meta. If Meta goes to 550, I would love to see that, because it would be hitting this trend line again. Another point is probably going to move towards 600 again. Now, if it maintains this level of support, you just want to see how much volume and momentum comes into the name or into Meta, and then we might actually have an opportunity to get back in. I still like Meta. I think it's going to continue moving up. Let's move on to, I was looking at this. Should I do this name? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, Triple M. And one of the things that caught my eye, I had this line, this trend line, and I actually set this trend line a while ago. I'm not sure what I was looking at. But one thing that is interesting here is that you're hitting this level of support, coming back, breaking the trend line and retesting on top of that 35 SMA. I think this actually might move up very nicely. Let's take a look at after hours. And you had this, you didn't have much after hours. You were flat after hours. But I love what I'm seeing here. It's moving slowly. I think this name might actually give us a surprise. There might be an opportunity here for a swing to the upside that, you know, I could put a position now, meaning tomorrow, Tuesday, and be out no later than Monday of next week. But it seems like this week, this might actually move. I just like the setup. I like what I'm seeing here. I just wanted to point that out on MMM. And now let's take a look at Microsoft. And wait, I'm just taking a note. Okay, Microsoft. 415. This level again. You know, quite interesting. Let's take a look at the 4 hour. I just want to see it was up 0.35%. Not bad for a name like Microsoft. Let's take a look at Apple, for example. It was up 0.42%. Let's go back to Apple. Let's go to Meta and see. It was down 0.21%. So it was the only one that I recall that was on the red. Meta, meaning. Okay, Microsoft. 415, quite a level, isn't it? So I think that if this catches some momentum to the upside, then we might have another mini rally towards 431. MACD and TSI, in my opinion, is still, or not in my opinion, it's obviously still look bearish. But we'll see if we start curling tomorrow. And I think if tomorrow and Wednesday are green, these indicators are going to look much nicer, not only in Microsoft, but in Apple, Amazon, Google, possibly Meta, and so on. So we have to maintain this level. I've been saying this for forever, and see how we behave. Now, it is more important now than ever to maintain this level, because you already broke this trend line, which is coming from August 5th. Is it? Yes. So that is quite important. If we break support, you're going straight to a 325 SMA. And when was the last time you touched? It's been a while. Okay, so the 325 SMA could be your next level of support. But for now, let's just keep on this number 415 that has been there for a while. I've been talking about 415 on Microsoft forever. If you follow my videos, you're probably gonna see that. Now let's move on to another name that, you know, I really want to get in, but I'm a little bit of, apprehensive. But Nike. Let's take a look at Nike. And if you look at this chart, I was starting to get a little bit bullish on Nike, even though you have this formation right here, right on this area. I think I got some calls and I got out in one of these two candles right here. Now, my problem with that was that it couldn't break resistance. And it really tried, but it got rejected. It got rejected several trading days in a row. Then you went down back to this level of support at 17.3. This level is coming all the way back from this, when it was support back on February of 2018. If we break this level, I don't know where this is going to land, but I would love to see a little more of momentum coming to the upside. I mean, Nike, I think is right now is super cheap. I'm just trying to wait and see what is the best time to actually buy it. I need to see more momentum. It gives me the same feeling of AMD, that we don't know exactly when this sell-off is going to start. The same with Celsius. We don't know exactly when the sell-off is going to end. And then I just want to see these names breaking resistance levels. MACD and TSI on Nike are looking okay. I mean, they're not terrible, to be honest. We just have to see a little more of momentum to the upside. But I think there is a tremendous opportunity on Nike. We just have to wait. It's one of those things, and you just have to look at the chart, visit the chart like once a week. That's how bad it is, in my opinion. Unless you start seeing really more, momentum and a little more of a buzz coming into a name. But what I do with names like Celsius, for example, or Nike in this case, I just visit them like once a week and see basically what happens. Talking about once a week, let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah, the weekly is telling you everything, right? So you need to see this rebound and going towards 75. Maybe once you break 75, then you can possibly start making a decision. I would love to see them maybe a move to 75, see how you behave in this area, move towards 78, 79, and then if you break, then you're actually finally out of this purgatory in which Nike is. We'll see what earnings come. When is earnings are coming on March. Okay, that's what I got for Nike. Now let's finish a video with Tesla, and it is quite interesting what we have seen in Tesla in the last 2 trading days in particular. I'm not too worried about Thursday of last week. Friday had this rebound, and let's go to the 5-minute and we can actually see what happened. So on Friday you were right here, you had this move, you kind of had like this double top, but then at one point buyers came back in, and that's why you had the type of candle that you got on Friday. Now today in pre-market you had the sell-off, but from this point to this point we have seen a very strong, very aggressive move. Now keep in mind, let's go from the low to the last candle, basically 8%. That is incredible. Well, not incredible for Tesla, to be honest, but this move is quite impressive. Let's go to the 4-hour. I want to see. Tesla was rallying towards the end of the trading day. I was looking at the 15-minute. I was working out and I was looking at my phone, the 15-minute chart, and I was like, man, this thing is moving. 2.45% after hours, and it closed at 2.17. Let's go back to the 5-minute because this chart was nutty. You started right here, and then you just started moving, got a little bit choppy. You had this bottom right here, and then once you broke the 325 SMA, which also works pretty well on the 5-minute chart, I'm gonna tell you why. You broke here, you started moving, you touched it here, you touched it again, and then you went up. There was momentum towards closing. There was momentum. Now you are at 415. Wow. You basically closed at 415 after hours. That is impressive. We never got to hit my price target, thank God, of 365, because my thesis was, and we could get to 365. Now it's still possible. We don't know what kind of data we're going to get tomorrow. But again, if everything is at least somewhat normal, I think that Tesla is going to continue this run above 415, and maybe continue rallying. That would be quite interesting, to be honest. We'll see how we behave. We'll see what happens. MACD and TSI are not looking as bad as they did a couple of days back. They look like they are curling. If you take a look at the TSI, it's starting to close in the divergence that it had at one point. The RSI is also behaving the same way. This is quite interesting. But I'm not, bringing my hopes too high, considering that tomorrow and Friday and Wednesday are going to be critical data days for us in the market. So be very, very careful. If I can tell you anything, be very careful and mindful of how you allocate your money. I think there's still going to be a lot of craziness going on between now and Trump taking office. So be very mindful. I mean, we're 1 week away. So there's not really reasons to rush and to do any dumb decisions. That being said, that's it for the video. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please subscribe and like the video, I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye.